Good evening and welcome to the first of three meetings tonight. My name is Dennis Buckley, Mayor of the City of Beech Grove, and at this time we will convene our Board of Sanitation meeting for Monday, July the 6th, 2020. In lieu of a roll call, I will ask each participant to introduce themselves, beginning on my left.
Dave Harrison.
James Kaufman, Clerk Treasurer.
Craig Wiley, City Attorney.
Sandy Seward.
Thank you, Board. You have been presented a printed copy of the minutes of the previous meeting dated Monday, June 15th, 2020. Floor is open for any questions, comments, or corrections.
I have none, thank you.
I have none.
No questions, comments, or corrections. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you. This evening, Board, we have 4 pages of wastewater claims in the amount of $123,094.49. The floor is open for questions or comments.
I have none.
No questions or comments. I'll ask for a motion to approve the wastewater claims dated July the 6th, 2020, in the amount of $123,094.49.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. We have no unfinished business from the previous meeting, and we have no new business this evening. Comments from board members?
I have none, thank you.
I have none.
No comments. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
The meeting is adjourned at
6:02.
6:02. We will convene our Board of Public Works and Safety meeting after we reset. Thank you, Board. Good evening and welcome to the second of 3 meetings tonight. My name is Dennis Buckley, Mayor of the City of Beech Grove, and at this time we will convene our Board of Public Works and Safety meeting for Monday, July the 6th, 2020. In lieu of a roll call, we'll ask each participant to introduce themselves, beginning on my left.
Dave Harrison.
James Kaufman, Clerk Treasurer.
Craig Wiley, City Attorney.
Sandy Seward.
Thank you, Board. You have been presented a printed copy of the minutes of the previous meeting dated Monday, June the 15th, 2020. Floor is open for any questions, comments, or corrections.
I have none.
I have none.
No questions, comments, or corrections. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you. This evening, Board, we have 38 pages of corporate claims in the amount of $1,591,598.85. Floor is open for any questions or comments.
I do have a question, please. Page 36. About 3/4 of the way down, it's Ton and Blank Construction Company in the amount of $34,589 for alley improvements.
That is the LRNS alley improvement. That is LRNS. That is for the Greenway.
The Greenway, okay, perfect, thank you, that's my question.
I have none.
No other questions or comments. I'll ask for a motion to approve the corporate claims dated July the 6th, 2020 in the amount of $1,591,598.85.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you. We have no unfinished business to carry over from the previous meeting. Tonight, we have a couple of items under new business, and the first item is a change order number 3 for the Arlington Avenue Roundabout. And at this time, Brad, did you want to comment on that?
Yeah.
Sure, come on up.
Good evening, Board. So this is change order number 3. It is in the amount of $17,849.40. And that is for additional conduit to light the roundabout up, basically. The original design and the federal grant that we received did not include lighting because the lighting goes through IPL, and so that had to be a separate agreement with IPL directly. So this change order is to add additional conduit to essentially get everything underground that's within the scope of this roundabout, excuse me. There was some of it that got buried under new driveway approaches for businesses that were there that had their old ones torn up, so that's what this is for, and I think they changed the nature of what they were gonna do. Originally, it was proposed to go with like a 4-inch metal, and they reduced it down to a 2-inch, saving us quite a bit of money. I think it was gonna be double this, and they cut it in half. IPL was agreeable to that, so it actually worked out to our advantage financially. But that's what this is for. You guys have any questions?
I have none.
I have none. No.
Thank you.
What I want to point out with this is that the roundabout, the amount of, the cost for the construction is $1,629,270. And tonight, we'll approve a change order in the amount of $17,849.40. And what happens is, during the course of this project has come in under budget. So we are about $56,000 to $58,000 under budget. So with this $17,000, that lessens that $56,000 to $58,000. So when you approve this evening, that doesn't mean we cut a check. That just means, okay, we've saved money, we're under budget, we can use this to offset any cost. So the first change order was $1,651. That was the same process. We didn't cut a check for that. That was taken from the balance because we are under budget, and we will still come in under budget, which is a good thing. So tonight, I just ask that, is there any other questions on this?
So are we still under contract with NDOT? Don't they pay 50% or a percentage of this?
They pay 80% of it.
80%? Okay. Does that, I mean, do they have to be, they're in approval as well for the change order?
Yeah, we're approving it. This came from NDOT.
Okay.
So we have to approve this
Okay.
as a local planning agency.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
So if there are not any questions, I'll ask for a motion to approve change order number 3 in the amount of $17,849.40.
I will make said motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you. Next order of new business is supplemental agreement number 2 for the Thompson Trail. Brad, did you want to comment on this as well? Sure.
So for this project, we're in a different phase. We're still in the design phase. Unlike the last one where you get into the construction phase and things come up and you have change orders. In the design phase, one of the steps that you go through that initially when you apply for federal funding, and you don't always know exactly what it's going to cost, is land acquisition. A lot of times until you get to like stage 3 in the design process, you don't always know the exact footprint, whether you're going to encroach on somebody's property or not. So we're at that stage with this project, and there's, I think the total, I don't have it right in front of me, is around $47,000 or $48,000. That's the exact number now that GAI knows they're going to need to complete that stage of the design. So it's for land acquisition services, which is generally included in the right-of-way phase of the project.
And Craig, did you want to comment on this? You took a look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it when Brad first sent it over to me. I didn't see any problems with it.
We went through that when we did Main Street, we went through it when we just went through it when we did the Roundabout, and we went through it with the Greenway, and now it's time for the Thompson Trail. So the amount is like $48,000, and it's budgeted for this year. Jim and I went through it last week, and I took him through these steps. So this is just part of the process.
Okay.
And for the board's information, that project will be out to bid in February of next year. And they'll award the bid in March of next year. So next year is going to be a busy year for the city.
And there's actually quite a bit of right-of-way that gets purchased on this trail that connects 9th to Emerson. There's a lot of parcels that extend out into where this trail is going to go. So there was a decent amount of right-of-way purchase for something that's really not that long, but it really encroaches on quite a few different parcels. So that's why it was the amount that it was.
The affected people will probably start getting notice here soon.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. Any other questions or comments?
I have none.
I
Thank
have
you.
none.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the supplemental agreement number 2 between the City of Beech Grove and GAI Consultants concerning the Thompson Road Trail.
Make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. And all of us will have to sign this one. Next order of new business is the request to hire a police officer. Chief?
Good evening, Board. I am requesting to hire Mr. Brian De La Rosa as a probationary officer. Mr. De La Rosa has successfully completed all steps in the hiring process. Mr. De La Rosa is a certified law enforcement officer in Indiana, and he has 17 years of experience. At his current agency, he has been a supervisor and a detective. Mr. De La Rosa's hiring would be paid for by the school referendum that was passed in June. His starting base salary will be $62,451.45. Pending his approval, his start date will be July 7th, 2020.
Any comments from board members?
I do have a couple questions. Was this budgeted?
Yes. So last year, knowing that the referendum was coming, we added 3 new officers to the budget
Okay.
to help offset this. So he'll be actually number 36.
Thank you. And another question, it's been a few years since my kids have been at Beech Grove City Schools. Is there do they have a plan? Will they be in full capacity? Are they going to start back to school on time? And would this affect him being hired by the schools depending on what the COVID-19 response is?
No, it will not be affected. We've had meetings with the school. The school, I don't know the final plan, but they will be starting with kids at the schools. These officers will be at different schools. And so no matter what schedule they go to, they want the officers there. So
Okay.
they said, move forward. That's
Okay.
why we're doing that tonight.
Okay, so no matter what the attendance is, whether if it's just half attendance or
That's
full
right. There's-
attendance, they still want the officers there
Yeah.
on site at the schools.
It's because it's funded through the referendum, not through their.
Okay, I understand.
Yes,
Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief?
I have none.
It's now I ask for motion to approve the chief's request to hire an additional officer.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries.
Thank you, board.
Board, last couple things was I spent a little time with the Promoters Club, and I recommended to the Promoters Club that we take a pass on the Fall Festival Parade this year due to COVID-19 and the fact that there's no way that we could provide social distancing. So I wanted to let you know that, and I would certainly entertain a motion to not do the Fall Festival Parade this year, if somebody wants to make one.
I will make that motion.
I would second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye. Along with the time that the festival is here, we generally close Main Street, and I also advise them that I would recommend to this board that Main Street not be closed from 6th Street west during the time of the festival for 2 reasons. One is COVID and social distancing, and number 2 is since the beginning of March, local business on Main Street has been closed. Now they are back open, and I don't think it would be good if we close the road again and not allow people to park to go frequent local business. So those are the 2 reasons. So I'll open it up for any discussion, but I would certainly ask for a motion to not close Main Street during the time frame of the festival from 6th Street west.
So what would be why would we want to close it if there was not going to be?
In years past, they used to close it.
For the festival.
So you're still saying there will be a
Right.
festival?
Yeah.
There is no festival, right?
No
And so
parade.
there's no reason, no
There
parade,
is
there
a
is
par-
no
there is a
reason. Oh, there is a
We
parade.
haven't,
As of now, yeah.
as of now, we haven't, that's the next topic of discussion.
Okay,
So
But,
if there is a festival, Main Street will remain open,
east of 6th Street, but not west.
but what like about Fifth Street, north and south?
It'd be closed like it always
Always
is.
is, okay.
Have we polled the business owners? What are their thoughts?
No, I haven't really talked to any business owner. I'm just thinking, you know what? These people have been through enough, and I think it would be proper if we didn't close the road. I know the senior center is not going to be open during the fall festival
Right.
time
I understand.
due to the virus.
Okay.
So that was my recommendation to the Promoters Club as well. And so I think we would be proper if we not allow Main Street to be closed west of 6th Street during the festival timeframe.
I agree, and I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. I've also talked to the Promoters Club about the Fall Festival itself. And I won't make a formal recommendation to the board to not do it. I'm willing to sit down and work with them on it, but I do not know how they're going to be able to do this. And since I've last spoken with the Promoters Club about this, the Marion County Health Department has come out with a directive that any festival, the organizers of the festival will have to provide a plan to provide adequate social distancing and sanitation for food booths and for rides. So in other words, every time somebody comes off of a ride, it's going to have to be wiped down. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. But I haven't closed the door, and I'll probably make a recommendation to you. Maybe at the next meeting, I'm not sure. But it looks, there's a distinct possibility that there will not be a festival,
So
in my opinion.
we're going to go ahead and table it for now? Is that-
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's all I have for new business. Comments from board members? Jim?
I have a couple refunds, if you don't mind.
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
There's two, real quick, two park, community center rental refunds that, didn't get on the docket tonight, so if I could read those real quick. First one is for LaDonna New. She paid for a shelter rental to be held on July 25th. This event was canceled due to the coronavirus. She paid on January 17th, a total of $65. And the second, refund request for damage deposit was $240 that was paid for their event to be held on 10/3 of 20. This event was canceled due to issues related to coronavirus. $240 was paid on March 7th, 2020. That's for Sherry Moore. So if we could approve those and get their refunds back to them, that's all.
Any comments from board members?
I have none.
Motion to approve the refunds for both of them.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Any other new business or comments from board members?
I have
I have
none.
nothing.
Thank you.
I'm good.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned. We will convene our city council meeting this evening at 7 p.m. Thank you. We'll convene our common council meeting for Monday, July the 6th, 2020. In lieu of a roll call, I will ask each participant to introduce themselves, beginning on my left.
Dave Harrison, District 5.
Kevin Day, District 4.
Elizabeth Lamping, Council District 1.
Gary Hall, District 2.
Kara Ferguson, at large.
Buddy Temple, Councilman at Large.
Robert Ferguson, District 3.
Frank Wiley, City Attorney. James Kaufman, Clerk Treasurer.
Thank you, council. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll start out under special presentations with a swearing-in ceremony for our newest police officer. Chief? Council, I'd like to introduce Renario Kamea. He has met all the conditions of perf and has been approved for hire by the Board of Public Works and Safety. And tonight, we will swear him in. So, Camille. Are you ready? Raise your right hand. I, Renario Kamea, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Indiana, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and diligently discharge the duties as a police officer for the City of Beech Grove according to law and to the best of my ability.
I do.
Congratulations.
Welcome to you and your family. Welcome.
Council, you have been presented a printed copy of the minutes of the previous meeting dated June 1st, 2020. The floor is open for any questions, comments, or corrections. No questions, comments, or corrections. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make said motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Public comments, Counselor? Alicia?
Good evening. My name is Alicia Renfro. I am the president of Beech Grove Girls Softball Affiliation. And the reason that I am here this evening is to kind of give everyone a little bit of insight as to what we do as an affiliation, the expenses that go out daily, monthly, yearly, so on and so forth. It was brought to my attention a few weeks ago that there was a vote, it was not in our favor, in regards to some funds that possibly could have been dispersed between my league and the boys' league. But to my understanding, because of some guidelines put into play by the SBOA, that wouldn't be possible. But I just wanted to give everybody a little bit of an understanding as to what we do as an affiliation for all of the girls in the community in Beech Grove. From 2017 to current, $13,883 is what we have put out in field maintenance, vandalism, repairs. We can't restrict public access to those diamonds, and we deal with that on a daily basis. We are a non-for-profit organization, so we're tax exempt. We are not under the Parks Department. We are on school property. School helps out a little, not as much as I would like for them to. We maintain those fields for the 7th and 8th grade girls softball team. That's with topping them off with dirt, crowning them, aerating them, providing the chalk, lining those fields for them. And it somewhat takes away from what we try to do during our season for the girls in the rec organization. Every year we're dealt with plumbing issues. I guess, the sewer issues that go on here in Beech Grove. And just 2 months ago, I paid out $4,388.92 to repair busted pipes. You name it, we fixed it. So just to let everybody know, that's kind of what we deal with, not only on a weekly basis with expenses. Grass cutting, we have to take care of that ourselves. Just in 2 years, we've paid $5,674 to keep the grass and the grounds cut, which I feel should be taken care of by the middle school, considering we are on school property. So that's kind of what I wanted to let everybody know, and I know some people thought we were under the Parks Department, and we are not. So everything that we have to do comes out of our league expenses, and we strictly function on registration fees and concession sales. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we've struggled. I didn't know if we were going to be able to have a season, and if we did not, we probably would have went under. The health department requires us to make a lot of upgrades, which we have, but we're basically starting this season July 25th in the negative in our account. So, but we're going to push forward and we're going to make it work. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Pam Stallard. I live at 711 Churchman, Beech Grove. I've got several questions this evening that I'd kind of like to have answers to this evening before the meeting closes. One of my concerns is this $9,500 that seems to be floating around, that seems to be footballed back and forth between churches and Little League and the girls' baseball and or softball. Has this been taken out of the general fund, or is it still in the general fund? Why is there a free-for-all for this $9,500? It wasn't that many months ago that we were so very, very poor that we couldn't make it without an increase in our sewer and trash bills. But now all of a sudden we have $9,500 to use for entertainment. So I'd like to know where this $9,500 is going. If we don't give it to the ball clubs, can the mayor turn around and just write out a check for $9,500? He can do that without consent, which brings up another question. The accountability. Where is the money going? And when does the mayor decide to arbitrarily write out a check to who and for what if it's under $10,000? Is there any accountability there? I've never seen or heard of when this might happen, where the money goes, how frequently it goes. I'd like some accountability there. Do we just call Jim and find out if the mayor's written a check for under $10,000 this month or yesterday and today? How does that all work? Nobody's ever explained that to me. I've contacted 4 councilmen concerning the RDC positions. I hope that they consider a constituent's preferences in the way they vote. I would appreciate it. I don't know how many constituents have contacted the council people, but I wish more people would involve themselves with our council people. That's what they're here for, to go back and forth with the citizens. So, yeah, I'd like an answer to the question about the mayor's accountability, how often he can write checks under $10,000, if there's some place you can go for that accountability. Also, Jim, are we up to date on the computer with all of our expenses we paid out, how much money we have left? I understand we went through 50% of our money within 6 months, is what my understanding was. But then I heard that changed and we don't need to get a loan after all. So there's some things there that I'd like to know about. So that's about all I have for this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Bailey?
Hello, community and council and mayor. My name is Dan Bailey. I live at 64 South 7th Avenue. I've lived here most all of my life. I am a pastor of a small church on 4th Street, 120 South 4th, and I am currently the chair of the mayor's faith-based roundtable. And so I come today for some public speaking time to address a very important matter, probably one of the most important matters I've ever addressed as a pastor or even as a citizen. And what I would like to take the time today to do is to share with the community and with the council what we have talked about at the mayor's faith-based roundtable. And what we've talked about is, first I should tell you, I'm a criminal investigator. I've done it for over 30 years. I work on death penalty and life without parole cases, and I see the worst of the worst in a day. And then I go to church. And so I go from the gates of hell to the gates of heaven pretty much daily. And I have seen both extremes of what it can be to be least and lost and what it can be to be found. And so I think that what our community is really hurting for, not just Beech Grove, but the nation, is to bring prayer back into our community. And by prayer, I don't mean a denomination. I mean the Universal Church of Jesus Christ. And so forgive me if I seem nervous. I don't usually get nervous talking in front of people, but you know, this is God's work. And so I bring it before each and every one of you to please consider. I have drafted a letter. I know there are proper procedures for everything, especially in government, but given the COVID-19 and the disruption it's created in our community and our meetings and whatnot, the mayor had suggested I petition the council, and to a pastor, when you say petition, that means prayer. And so I have prayed, as the mayor suggested, and I have also drafted a short letter to the mayor and to the council, and I would like to share that with the council if I may. If anyone would like a copy, it's usable. Thank you. And the mayor hasn't seen it yet, so who knows, it could have anything in it.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
But actually,
Thank you.
it's a very short and simple letter, and I can share it with the community as well. But basically, all I'm asking for is for you to take into consideration allowing one of the many pastors from our community. We have the mayor's faith-based roundtable has pastors from all churches within our community and other leaders within this within the ministry who come. And we would be willing and more than happy and honored to be able to begin each city county council meetings. That's the city of Indianapolis, but the city council meetings, to begin with prayer, a short prayer asking for God's wisdom and God's guidance, that we be in the center of His will in all we do, because that truly is what will bring healing to our community and to our land. And it is the formula it's what's been missing. It's what we're lacking. And so without too much further ado, I just would ask you to take a look at the letter, and I will quickly share with the community what it says. It says, I want to begin by thanking you, as well as each and every one of the members of the city council for your time and your attention toward this serious matter before us. During our last faith-based roundtable meeting, which was back in March, we've not been able to meet since, I had the distinct pleasure of discussing a proposal from the faith-based roundtable with the mayor, who was facilitating our meeting at that time, and we discussed bringing this proposal before the city county council by means of a petition, which then could be discussed during a time allotted for public speaking. Since this time, CDC restrictions have been placed upon public gatherings. Given the current circumstances surrounding this pandemic we're experiencing, we believe the matter could now be best addressed by placing the proposal on the agenda for this council meeting. The proposal in question is as follows. We, the pastors, gathered together as members of the mayor's faith-based roundtable, propose that each city council meeting begin with prayer. We're prepared to provide a pastor to lead a prayer before each meeting, including tonight's meeting, if it were acceptable to pray, as we ask God for wisdom and guidance for both our leaders and our community as well. We recognize that the mayor and the council have been charged with the important decision that affect how and when we invest in our community. We prayerfully and respectfully implore you to reinvest this holy resource of prayer back into the community. Thank you for entertaining this proposal, and we pray that you would move on this matter as God would have you to move, reverently submitted. So with that being said, I don't want to spend too much time addressing it. It's pretty simple. We begin with a pledge of allegiance to a flag, and I propose that we also begin each meeting with a simple prayer, asking that we be in the center of God's will and that it be His will what we do, not our own, and that we cry out to Him as 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, if we will humble ourselves, those of us who go by His name humble ourselves, I'm paraphrasing, He will hear our voice and he will heal our land. And we need healing, folks. So with that being said, I'll pass to the next speaker. Is this a matter that you all would address at a time like this for consideration, or how do we move forward? I'm not familiar with the proper procedures.
I think it'd be under new business.
Okay.
So on the next council meeting?
And that's fine. I just wanted to make sure we were able to get it before you in the proper fashion, so you'd have time to consider it and give it the due diligent consideration it requires. All right, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Pat.
And thank you for the community, too. We'll be meeting again this month, I pray, and our goal is to bring the resource of prayer back into our community, along with all the resources our churches have to offer, including food pantries, counseling, training. We have alcohol and drug addiction counseling and recovery resources. So if you have anyone that's in need of any of those things, anger management, whatever it is, we've pretty much got it covered with one of our local churches. So feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
I apologize. The church, sir, on 4th?
Yeah, Circle of Hope.
Circle of Hope.
It used to be a Beech Grove Wesleyan church, but we reorganized under a new name, and we felt it's time to bring the troops into a circle to try to reinstate
And you have a
back into our community.
website? You have a website?
There is a website. It's under a Wesleyan website. I'm sorry, I don't know the
That's okay.
exact
Don't worry.
website under this new name.
Thank you.
I'd hate to tell you the wrong name.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions I should entertain?
Mayor, do you have any questions? I mean, because I know are you okay with?
Yeah, the council could hear it under
Okay.
As a resolution or just a general ordinance?
No, just an approval, simple approval.
Thank you for your consideration. Truly appreciate the opportunity.
Do we as a council, do we need time, or is this something you guys are comfortable with now?
I would rather wait.
You'd rather wait? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
I need to ask, I have questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. You take my paperwork.
Oh.
Oh, did I? Probably did. Sorry, sir.
That concludes public comments, committee reports. The ABC had a renewal this morning, but I did not hear how that went. RDC, Liz?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Buckley and the council and those in the audience. Our RDC meeting we had on Thursday, June the 11th, here in these chambers. We had our annual report presentation to representatives of the overlapping taxing districts. We had the passage of a resolution determining that there is no excess assessed valuation to allocate to overlapping taxing units. And we had our claims docket approval. The balance in our general fund is stated in the monthly clerk treasurer's report that each council person has. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. The compliance did submit a report, but I didn't include it in the packet, so I apologize. Greenscape did not meet. And the last report this evening, financial. Jim?
Good evening. City Hall has returned to our regular schedule. In an effort to minimize exposure to our employees, City Hall remains closed to the public. Permits are still being received and processed on a timely basis. Citizens are still able to pay their sewer bills online, by phone, by mail, or by dropping their payment off in the 24-hour drop box. Spring disbursements have been received. I expect most of the remaining will be paid this week, as non-escrow property tax payments have to be submitted by July 10th, 2020 to avoid a spring tax payment penalty. I included Form 22 to this report for your review. Additional disbursements are possible in July and August. With our spring disbursements, we received $56,838.32 for sewer liens collected for the period November 13th, 2019 through May 11th, 2020. The first round of pension relief has also been received, which included $169,641.04 from fire and $304,047.58 from police. These payments will be repeated again before October 2nd, 2020. We made our final payment of $5,630.98 on the senior bus last month. Sewer bond 2015A payment was made last week. The 2004 SRF bond will be paid monthly from here on out. I was informed by the Indiana Bond Bank that per the bond agreement, the City of Beech Grove agreed to make monthly deposits to the Bank of New York. The monthly payment will be $11,348.11 for the last six months of 2020. These monthly payments had been combined for two large payments in the past. The RTC bond and 2012 GO bond will be paid later this month. I continue to stress the need to limit spending on any items that are non-essential to all department heads. I thank them all for helping with this. I'm currently working on getting reimbursed for COVID-19 related expenses. The bank account balances are listed below as of today, July 6, 2020. These totals are prior to the claims that were approved earlier this evening. City Corporation, $4,107,902.24. Utility, $898,534.07. Criminal Investigation Fund, $42,656.19. RTC General, $729,027.30. RTC Debt Service, $240,000. Any questions at all, please let me know. Respectfully submitted, James Kaufman. Couple questions, Pam. Any claims that are submitted to my office for the City of Beech Grove, they get on a docket and has to be approved by the Sanitation and the Board of Works. The mayor does not write checks. I have to write the checks, and they're printed in my office. So
I can't come in and say, Jim, I need 5,000?
you cannot.
That doesn't work?
No, it does not.
That's what I thought.
It does not. No, it has to be approved by the Board of Works. He just can't come in and write a check. He cannot write a check. Only me as the clerk treasurer can write the checks.
Let's get in line.
And then some of the information online, I'm slowly getting it updated. I mentioned to Councilman Hall the other day that I did forget a month, so I got that updated, and we're up to May. I just got all this money receipted in for the spring disbursement. All of that was receipted in. We finished receipting that in today. So we'll update those documents on the website as well. All this that you have in your packet is also online. If you go to the website, and it's all there as well. So that's all I got.
Regarding one of the other questions she had regarding that 9,500, I know we didn't vote on it, but did you find out whether or not that was a gray area? You were going to look into the Board of Accounts? Just to kind of close that door.
Yeah, so the money's still right where it was in the general fund. It hasn't gone anywhere. I emailed the State Board of Accounts who, if I have any questions in regard to my job, I ask them, and they'll tell me what I can do by law, by state statute. I emailed them last week. I just mentioned that the City of Beech Grove planned on spending $9,500 on fireworks for our annual July 3rd display. This has since been canceled. The City Council has brought forth the idea of taking these funds and donating them to the local Little League and softball leagues here in Beech Grove. What is the State Board of Accounts' stance on this? Are we able to donate funds for something like this? Thanks for your help, Jim Kaufman. Heard back from them on Wednesday. They said, our general guidance on providing financial assistance is to refer to Indiana Code 36-10-2-4 and 36-10-2-5. Those statutes provide for when a city can aid certain facilities or programs. See below. The first, Indiana Code 36, is for libraries, museums, and other facilities and programs. A unit may establish, aid, maintain, and operate libraries and museums, cultural, historical, and scientific facilities and programs, and community restitution or service facilities and programs. Second way we can do is neighborhood centers, arenas, and stadiums. A unit may establish, aid, maintain, and operate neighborhood centers, community centers, civic centers, convention centers, auditoriums, arenas, and stadiums. He goes on to say, you may wish to consult an attorney for a written legal opinion as to whether a baseball or softball league would fall under any of the above categories. And that was from Todd Caldwell, who's Director of Audit Services for the State Board of Accounts. So, yeah, so according to him, it doesn't seem like it's something that we can necessarily pay out of the general fund for.
Okay, thank you.
Does the council have any questions for Jim? Did you want to touch base on the tax anticipation warrant that we didn't need? And why you thought it was a good idea to do it?
I mentioned it last month about, in order to get that, you need to plan ahead. It's something that we've been working on. Until the last minute, I was not aware that we were to receive almost 90% of our spring disbursements on time. Numbers prior to that, they were saying about 25% is what we should expect as a local municipality because the governor extended the due dates without penalty. So, as I mentioned last time, there's no need to proceed with that because we were going to get much more than anybody had anticipated. So totally we received $3,220,875.83, and that's all that. And I emailed them today, and they said it's about 90% or so is what was received. So we'll receive more as well, end of July and probably in August, just depending on when those get. But yeah, I just wasn't sure what to expect with all COVID-19 coming, how that's affecting local municipalities. I wasn't sure what to expect. And being my first year on the job, I didn't want to obviously run out of money without getting what we were expected and what we had planned and budgeted for. So once I did receive that news, that's when I asked you guys to go ahead and just cancel that and not vote on that. So we did not proceed with that as planned.
And the way I understood, the way you explained it at a previous meeting was that if we found ourselves in this hole and you hadn't pursued this, we would have been.
We would have, yeah, it would have been at least a month out because it would have, we had to go through the process.
There was a
and-
deadline, yeah.
Correct, would have been too late to ask for any help.
So thanks for that.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. That concludes committee reports. Under unfinished business, we have 2 items tonight. First item is I am recommending to the council that you amend General Ordinance Number 2, 2020 concerning apartments. Currently, the ordinance reads that each individual apartment will pay a flat rate. My recommendation is that we revert back to how it used to be for as long as I could remember, and that is that the apartments be charged as a commercial user and base their bill on water usage. With the current ordinance, commercial users are paying on an average a 60% higher rate than this time last year. If the current ordinance is not amended, apartments will pay on average approximately 80 to 100% more than this time last year, and that may cause a further response from apartment owners. So I'm asking you tonight, council, is there any interest in amending the ordinance to go back to the apartments as a ratepayer based on usage?
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we amend General Ordinance Number 2 based on their bill on water use.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'd second.
And then we'll poll individually. Dave, I'll start with you since you're on my left.
Yes.
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 No.
No.
Yes.
All right. I'll refer to legal for the direction to take for our August meeting. So thank you, council.
Hey, can I ask a quick question on that, though, just
Sure.
to clarify? I know we just voted. With that, though, when you say it's an increase of 60%, that's just bringing them up what the average other resident's paying?
Gary, the rate increase for residential users, like yourself and me, was 25%.
Right.
Theirs, to bring them up, it caused a 60% increase.
Okay. Well, I look at that they've had a really good deal for a really long time. We should have, if you live in a 3-bedroom home with 1 bathroom, if you live in a 3-bedroom apartment with 1 bathroom, you're utilizing the same amount of services. And that's what I call favoritism. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that what you're doing. You're treating certain, investors. I think in one of the documentations too, one of the owners said back in, I think it was maybe in May, that this would affect their final product, meaning the quality of service they provide for their tenants. So I reached out to a realtor that lives in our community. And his point was, if they were to require, as an investor, as this property manager investor, had to increase his bottom dollar rent, he would attract a higher caliber tenant, which is a good thing. You know, we're just looking at short things here. We're not looking long-term. So again, I can't charge Liz more than I charge her. We shouldn't be doing that, and that's what we're doing. It's about usage and about serviceability, and we're failing. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comment?
I got a question for you, Mayor, real quick. In this resolution, it states in here that the water meter shall be read in accordance with the operating practice of Citizens Energy Group. Does the city have to pay to get those meter readings?
No.
To know how much to pay, how much to bill the?
No, citizens, all commercial, or residential is flat, so it's very simple. The commercial users and industrial users are the ones that Citizens Energy reads their meters every month. And then Citizens sends all of the meter readings and how much to bill to Beech Grove Sewage Works.
Okay, but do we pay for those meter readings, or does citizens provide those?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask that question.
Because the question I have is, if we already have that agreement for commercial properties, that they are billed according to how much water they use, why can't we switch over our residential sewer rates to what residents actually use versus a flat rate?
You could.
That'd be great.
That'd be smart.
Everyone pays their usage.
Jim, hate to do this to you, but you look into that?
Yes.
Okay, first line up here is a cost incurred on next, I think there is, when I talk to other cities. That there is a cost to get those meter readings, and also,
And I know that
what would it take to do that?
out would be a lot more. We probably have to hire somebody.
Okay, but we have 2 years before the ordinance expires that we voted on for residential. But I think that that's something that we need to start working towards. That would solve a lot of our confusion and frustration with our residents.
But the reason we went to a flat rate to begin with is it was, people would come in wanting a credit. They would want a credit for toilet running, they would want a credit for filling their swimming pool, they would want a credit for watering their yard, they would want a credit for all kinds of things. So it became easier to develop a flat rate for residential properties, where it wasn't based on usage. So that's where that came from,
Right,
Bobby.
I understand, but I think especially with Citizens Energy raising our cost to treat the water, I think with how much they're increasing that over the next 4 years and further, I think we need to get on a true and accurate level on how much citizens are using and how much they're paying. So it truly reflects how much water that the citizens are using. And then also, I think that that would also force the city to actually have a maintenance program in place to address sewer issues.
Well, we'll talk about that under new business.
Right, and I read that report. Now, that would help force the city to address those issues.
That's something that the council can certainly take under advisement.
Okay.
But that wouldn't be one of those things where if you change the rules, it's not going to be a month and you could do that. This is going to take 6 months to a year to implement.
Right, I'm aware of that. That's why I told Jim, we have 2 years, we have about 1.5 years before the ordinance we voted on for the fixed rates for residents expires. We got to vote on it again after 2 years. So that should give the city enough time to do the research, get the groundwork laid, know what we need to do to possibly explore that option in 2 years when we have to re-vote on the increase for the sewer rates.
So you might recommend that everybody be based on water usage.
Yeah, but that's in 2 years. I'm just throwing it out there so Jim can start working on the research on that and get that information to us before we go and we do anything about that right now, because we're already locked in for 2 years for residents. And I'm just looking ahead here in 2 years when that ordinance or that rate freezes, that we can switch over to a true and accurate one.
See, under the flat rate now, the family benefits. The husband and wife and 4 kids, they pay the same rate as somebody who lives alone. So what are you going to say? What's going to be our response to the family who has 4 kids and mom and dad? Their bill's going to go from $37 to $60 or $70.
But we don't know that for sure
Yeah.
until we get the reading. But I can argue the same point about our elderly residents that are on fixed incomes. They live by themselves, and how are we going to raise their sewer rate bill another $20 over 2 years when in reality it's probably gonna go down for them? And that can help our senior residents.
Yeah, that's a point of discussion
Right.
for another day, but your point's well taken.
All right, thanks, sir.
Any other comments on this? We will move to RDC appointments. There was 2 people on the RDC, Grenoble and Griggs, and they both resigned, so at this time, there should be their resignation in your packet. So I'll defer to the council on how they want to proceed with reading the resignations into the record.
They're not in our packets.
They're not in the packets?
They were in last time.
They were in last month?
Yeah, they were in last month.
Jim, do you got a copy?
We need to vote also
You
to
read those,
approve or,
Yeah, we haven't even.
we need to
voted.
vote
Yeah.
on that also.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we all read them.
Yeah,
Did we?
yeah. I
But
read
does
it.
the citizens know why? No? Okay. Jim, do you mind reading those in the records, please?
Yeah.
I got a comment, I have a comment. I'm trying to remember what's in there, I don't remember anything super damaging. But a while back, we went through an ordeal with somebody leaving a particular office. It takes them a good chance to take swings at people. An example, the police chief could dismiss somebody tomorrow, and that person can write anything in a letter and be read, because he believes it to be the truth. So, I don't know if this is a big deal. I just want to speak up to an issue I know a while back that happened. I know that this issue could be just leading to that we can say anything. Somebody could be on a special work with council person day up here and decide that after the relationship was over that how bad he was, or, give facts that is opinionated sometimes. So I don't know.
I don't think there's anything damaging in those emails. I think they were very general.
I'm trying to remember them.
They weren't. They were just, thank you. They were very brief.
What's the council want to read it in the record or bypass it?
I would appreciate it for transparency, because I don't think there's anything damaging. I mean, Jim, is there anything damaging? Because they're not in my packet, so.
I have a copy, I didn't make copies of your office.
Okay.
If the clerk says there's, without me looking at one right now, if the clerk believes there's nothing damaging in there, the idea of, most people write a resignation letter usually, I'm leaving. Be surprised some of the stories sometimes that no matter reading it or not reading it, doesn't necessarily cause anything more than an issue. Jim says he doesn't think anything's damaging, and I'll trust that.
Good.
What's the first one, Jim?
Barbara Hook, Greg.
Go ahead.
Council members and redevelopment commission members, please accept this as my notice of resignation from the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. I have worked 45 years in the insurance industry as a professional advisor, and I refuse to be associated and my name ever being signed to dockets that have been passed since my first meeting on February 20th, 2020, that are against RDC rules and those of the Indiana SBOA. My profession could be in jeopardy with these illegal events. The lack of paying only these docket items that increase the TIF districts versus always finding a gray area to pay something that should not be paid. Mr. Grenoble forwarded all members of the council the State Board of Accounts email indicating meeting videos are not eligible to be paid with TIF funds. Paying a sewer bill for all areas not owned by the RDC. We own 0 properties. Landfill also is not to be paid with TIF funds. I'm requesting an audit of the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission for Mr. Paul Joyce as part of this email. Good luck in finding someone to serve on this commission that approves breaking State Board of Accounts rules and guidelines for using TIF funds. I understand now why Beech Grove TIF district funds are so incredibly low. Thank you for the opportunity to see just how this commission works in my few months of serving. We learned a great deal. Sincerely, Barbara S. Hook.
Any comments from council members? If not, I have a comment. That is an opinion. And I resent that opinion. That is a false statement. And I'm going to ask him to include that into the record. She attended one meeting and quit. Liz is up there. There's another RDC member. There was a former RDC member in here. Nobody has done anything except above board. And that is a shame.
I have a question, maybe an RDC member, as I've served on the park board for a while, and I had some areas where I thought, well, maybe whether we should go here or not, and I spoke my mind, but I didn't have to sign anything approving. I voted either against it or made my statement. Is there something with the RDC that you have to sign on as everything being what you agree with, or can you?
No, we present a docket, we have legal at every meeting, we have legal. We have our accountant when we need him for the purposes that you would need an accountant. So no, I mean, everything is done by legal and it's discussed and voted on, so.
With that being said, I appreciate that Ms. Hook, Grenoble, Dave, want to look at things, challenge them, see what they are, get them changed if there's not something appropriate. I don't have an issue with that. But I just wanted to make sure that because you serve on there doesn't necessarily mean that you're endorsing or agreeing with everything the board does. So,
And the docket, the money that was paid for a service that was already, a service provided, we voted to pay for a service that was already complete and provided. So, and we approved that docket to pay Mr. Showalter for the services he provided for our meeting.
And before Jim was, for 8 years, was Dan McMillan. Whether you like Dan or not, Dan played by the book, and if there would have been 1 ounce of impropriety with that RDC, he would have been screaming bloody murder.
As it should. Yeah. Thanks.
Motion to accept Griggs' resignation.
I'll make said motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. There's one more, Jim.
Common Council of Beech Grove. First off, thank you so much to the 4 council people who thought enough of me to put me on the RDC. The RDC, if run as it should be, can be wonderful for the community, but when money is used from TIF to pay things not allowed or used to pay consultants and attorneys to help bend or break the rules, it's a complete waste of taxpayer dollars, tax dollars. Duties of redevelopment commissions include the following. 1, investigate, survey, and study areas in the unit that need redevelopment. 2, study and combat the factors causing the area to need redevelopment. 3, select and acquire areas needing redevelopment or economic development areas. A focused, hardworking, and proactive redevelopment commission can alter, and in many cases has altered, the course of a community's economic future. The city of Carmel was once the tiny town of Bethlehem, Indiana. Indianapolis has not always had the prominence it does now. The size and fortune of Indiana's communities will in some cases wax and in other cases wane in the future. The role of the Redevelopment Commission in maintaining and fortifying the economic health of their communities should not be underestimated. Contracts greater than $50,000. A law passed in 2017 requires political subdivisions, including redevelopment commissions, to upload a copy of a contract that the political subdivision enters into after June 30th, 2016, to the Indiana Transparency Internet website if the total cost of the contract exceeds $50,000. This requirement applies to most contracts, including professional services contracts, with few exceptions. Due to differences in philosophy, interpretation, and beliefs of the rules, guidelines, and statutes that are in place for the RDC, I can no longer have my name part of this commission. Please accept this as my letter of resignation effective immediately. Be safe, Dave Grenoble.
Comments from council members? The rule for $50,000, if you enter into an agreement, contract with any agency and it exceeds $50,000, it has to be uploaded on the Keystone. And he's saying that from 2016 until the first of this year, that didn't happen.
It's happened since January. We've uploaded 6 or
Jim
7.
has done it, but I want to say something. As I said it a minute ago with Griggs, Dan McMillan was the clerk treasurer for 8 years. And the only reason Dan McMillan, in my opinion, did not do that is because he didn't know about it. If he would have known about it, he would have done every single agreement that exceeded $50,000. So I don't want to hear it from him on that we were not compliant. If somebody would have told the clerk treasurer, he would have done every single time.
It's a very easy process there. I just scan them in, I upload it to the gateway, and it's half a minute later, it's up there, and that's where they're all at. And you go through and you can search through contracts and what they're for, the amount, the dates, all that stuff. So it's a very easy thing that's been taken care of this year.
Motion to approve Grenoble's resignation.
I make said motion.
Second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. The council has 2 appointments to the commission. There should be 2 emails in your packet, one from Bonnie Dickinson and one from James Sigmund.
And then there's a third from Mr. Matthew.
And then tonight, you should have received a third one from Matt Kochevar. So Bonnie's not here. James, do you want to come up and talk?
Oh, no.
Matt, do you want to come up and address the council? James, you're welcome to come up here.
Oh, no.
Do you mind if I remove this? Thank you. It helps me better when I speak. Again, my name is Matthew Kochevar, live over at 701 Andrea Drive. When I found out about this vacancy, I wanted to, find other ways where I can help the city. So I put my name forward. I'm an attorney by trade. I work for state government in the state election division. So I deal with a lot of issues that people feel pretty passionately about, but also have many differences of opinions on. I work in a bipartisan office, and so we have a job to do under state law. We discuss our different opinions on the matter, but then work towards getting the job done and conducting an election. I would like to bring that same mentality to the Redevelopment Commission if I were selected, to find the best options that will economically improve our city. I've had a conversation with Councilman Hall, and I agree with him 100%, is that what the RDC should be looking for are projects, bringing in investors, different businesses that will improve the economics here in this city. Thinking of more of just of a common approach, I always think of if you're improving the city's economy, you do it one of 2 ways. Either horizontally, you increase the tax base, more jobs here, you get more foot traffic, more people, spending money here in our city, that leads to more tax revenue, or you think of it vertically, which is the increasing of our tax rates. I'm a taxpayer, I'm a homeowner. I understand we have to pay taxes, make sure our city and our community runs. I don't like paying them. I think everyone in this room would probably agree with me on a personal level, and so we would want to find a way to expand that more horizontally. I appreciate your consideration. Whether or not I am voted to serve on the RDC, however I can help this city, I would be more than happy to in whatever capacity, including whatever help I can be to each of you individually, but most especially to the council members who represent me specifically, Mr. Harrison, Mr. Templin, and Mrs. Ferguson. But that's all the comments I have now. I'm happy to answer what questions you may have of me on my background, if you have any. But other than that, I appreciate the consideration, and thank you for this time, Mayor and Council.
I have a quick question, Matt.
Yes.
So how do you feel, would you take the challenge of helping do with grant writing? Is that something you've ever done, or would that be something you would look into?
That was something I would look into. I am well versed in contracting law. One major part of my job is that we contract with a lot of different vendors that run specifically. Just give you our specifics. My office maintains the statewide voter registration system. That is a multi-year, multi-million-dollar project. And so I'm well versed in writing the contracts, and so I have a base there. And I know my skills can transition over to grant writing. I would be happy to help with that. I would like to make one thing clear, though, and that is just for my own ethical consideration. While I am an attorney, I cannot and I will not legally advise the RDC. That's what legal counsel's for. If I do that, we can do a whole thing where I don't want to have to go up to the Ethics Commission on, am I really serving as legal counsel when I'm not supposed to be? But in doing whatever I can, I'd be happy to do that. And whatever more specifics in the grant writing that I'm now well versed in, again, I went to school for a long time, and so I should be able to, and I would be more than happy to learn those specific skills to help the city and the RDC.
Thank you.
President, again, council, I appreciate the time. Thank you. Mayor.
All right, man, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to serve on the RDC? Okay, council, you have 3 people who have placed their name into the hat. Bonnie Dickinson, Matt Kochevar, and James Sigmund. So what I'll do is I'll poll each one of you individually and give me your two votes, okay?
Before that happens, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Last time we did this with Miss Dickinson, I didn't realize she was Gary's relative. If he votes for her, is that a nepotism problem or not?
On an employment situation.
Okay.
It could be a conflict if Gary wants to step aside.
A conflict of interest?
I mean, I don't think it's a legal conflict of interest, but I think Gary needs to decide whether that's a conflict for him or not, whether it's his mother-in-law.
Well, I know back in my first term on the council, I had Joe Griffin insured. Joe Griffin was running for position on the RDC, and I was asked not to vote for him, and I didn't vote. They just told me it was a conflict of interest, I guess. Yeah, and that was just somebody I had insured. So I just did, the last time I didn't realize he was related. I didn't know if that was a problem or not. But if it's not, so be it, I guess.
What do you think,
Well, I'll publicly say I have zero influence on that lady. She's extremely intelligent. I value her wisdom, but I don't, I attend every RDC meeting like a few people in here, which should be more proactive. I don't see how I could influence. But if you guys, honestly, if you don't want me to, that's fine. I'll withdraw my vote, but I have no issue with that, personally.
Yeah. The council doesn't have any control over the RDC. They have control over themselves, correct? Once they're appointed.
No, you have, yes, but you have 2.
We have 2 appointments, right, but they make their own decisions, they make their own voting. We don't have any direct hand involvement into the RDC.
Well, you would, if you had a topic that you wanted to discuss or an action that the RDC is doing, you would certainly go to your appointments and ask.
Okay. But we have counselors that serve right now that also are on the RDC. I mean, you could view that as possibly a conflict because they serve on 2 committees or 2 councils. And we also have council members that have family members that are also city employees. And they fill out the nepotism form or the contract of interest form. So I think that that's the only thing that Gary needs to do.
The uniform conflict of interest. But Bobby, on the council, you should, this body, this legislative body should have somebody on the RDC that can come back and report to the council. Whether it's an appointment by the mayor or appointed by the council.
Okay.
Okay. The 3 names again, Dickinson, Kochevar, and Sigmund. I'll start with my left. Dave?
What are we doing?
You're voting for
Nominate-
two of the three.
You want me to give you two names?
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely, Kochevar and Sigmund.
Dickinson and Sigmund.
Kochevar and Sigmund.
Bonnie and James.
Bonnie and Matt?
Matthew and James. I like the Bible.
Dickinson and Sigmund.
That's all the votes. Tally them up, Jim.
I just go through real quick, just to confirm. You got Coach Uber and Sigmund. Bonnie and Sigmund. Coach Uber and Sigmund. Bonnie and Sigmund. Bonnie and Coach Uber. Coach Uber and Sigmund. And Bonnie and Sigmund.
Yes.
Liz, when is the next RDC meeting?
Our next meeting will be on Thursday, July the 16th, here
What time?
at 7 PM, 1900 hours.
Nurse talk coming out. Yeah. Or military one.
We have a clerk that needs more than 10 fingers.
I don't want to mess this up. I'm trying to make sure my writing's. I have Sigmund, he has 6 votes. And then Coach Ever and Bonnie Dickinson have 4 votes.
So how do you deal with the tie? Is it the mayor's choice, or how's that work? Who breaks the tie?
You only vote on those two.
We can go around the council and just vote for who we want.
Okay.
Second position,
For the second
the first
position.
position would be James Sigmund.
James, because it's our appointed.
Gotcha.
So you either vote for Bonnie Dickinson or Matt Kochevar.
Okay.
Dave?
Kochevar.
Dickinson?
Matthew Kochevar.
Dickinson.
Dickinson?
Kochevar.
Dickinson.
Thank you, Matthew, for that awesome presentation. One can only chuckle.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. Journal Ordinance number 5, 2020 is a ordinance that modifies or amends the handicap parking ordinance for the city of Beech Grove. And I just passed out a sheet that this goes through the changes in the ordinance. And the reason for the ordinance change is to make it easier for those who have a disability who want to park in front of their house. And I want to go through this list. as we speak right now, handicap parking permits are issued annually. Okay, with this new ordinance, handicap parking permits will be good for 2 calendar years, beginning at the 1st of January of each year. The administrative fee for the first-time applicants is $25, first-time permits only, and the fee for permit is $25 a year, and $13 a year if applied for after the first year. When you originally sign up for a handicap permit, you have to pay $25 or $26, Jim, and then you have to pay, that's an administrative fee, and then you have to pay $25 a year. With this new ordinance, if you re-up, you don't have to pay the administrative fee. You just pay $25 for 2 years. Is that right?
The $20 also pays for the sign and the post. Helps pay for that cost of that because they have to go and install that.
And then the Board of Public Works and Safety approves each permit as of right now. With the new change, the Board of Public Works and Safety would not approve any permit. It would be up to the clerk after when the person brings in a copy of the registration, and then the police would okay it, and then the clerk would issue the permit. It would not have to go in front of the Board of Works, and that saves about 2 weeks. And then lines are painted 40 feet in length currently. The new revision would be lines are painted 40 feet in length, except if you reside in a double, then the line would be painted only 20 feet. And then applicants, when they come in, they have to provide documentation of a disability. But after the first time, if you have a permanent disability, you do not have to provide that documentation because it's already in file. We issue about 45 to 50 permits a year, so it's not a revenue generator. This is being done to make it easier for people who have a disability to get a permit. And Jim can attest, some of these folks who come in here, they shouldn't come in. They can barely walk, and some of them can't even walk. So we've streamlined it, and that's the reason for this ordinance.
How will it be enforced? How will it be enforced?
When a person wants to come in for a permit, Kara.
No, I mean, once it's done, how will it be enforced?
It would either be enforced through compliance or DPW. DPW would do the painting and the sign.
Okay.
But the ordinance, it would be a compliance issue, it'd be a police issue, a combination. Especially for those who have moved and, didn't tell anybody, so that would nullify any permit. So the way we do it right now is be either compliance or DPW, actually. So I'll open it up. Any comments from council members?
Jim, how much revenue are we talking?
25 times 47.
Do we really need to do that to people that are disabled? Can't we just modify this and just say zero cost as long as it's authenticated by your office? And because sadly, I'm a disabled veteran, okay? So federally, I had to turn my stuff in because it's a chain of record through the BMV system, and that's the, whatever that system is, I don't even clue. But from that, I had to come before the board back in 12, and they were very gracious and said, well, due to you're a veteran, we're going to waiver your expenses. Thank you, but there's people in much more need than I am. So for $800, I think we could really look deep into this and do a good thing.
It hasn't been introduced, so you can.
I'm just
You
talking.
can decide that you're not going to charge a fee, period.
Yeah, I mean, or, just like you said, number one, physical restraints, difficulty, and sadly, those are usually economically the hardest hit neighbors we have. So, I mean, but yet it would be within your parameters of, permanent, you verify the documentation's doctor's written, BMV tag, and then they give you the sticker you put on your car and you put that on your sign. I mean, everything's in place. But that cost,
How much do the signs cost the city?
federal.
Well, the whole thing, Brad, how much is a sign?
So about what they pay for it, that's the cost of that. But then you have the other part.
Yeah, just,
The only problem I'd have with that is, there's a lot of people disabled, I mean, like Gary, that would apply for these and don't really need them. I mean, if you start doing them for free, I mean, hell, I'm disabled, but I don't need one. Of course, I live on a court, I wouldn't need it anyway, but I'm just saying, the opposite effect could happen here if you don't charge a fee. You may have 200 people wanting these things just to get a parking place out front. And then what are you going to do to offset that cost?
Have you had people bring up the fact that the cost, Mayor, can you remember, or can anybody remember or recall incidents where people said that I just can't afford that?
Yes. I know of one this year.
from a police officer standpoint, if they, I think in my process, I had to get a letter from the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, and I have to keep that in my vehicle at all times, because an officer could pull me over and verify to make sure, because if my wife's driving the vehicle, that's not authorized. So that would put more emphasis on our police department, but yet you're saying the compliance now, I thought you guys didn't do vehicles no more, or has that changed, Kathy, or?
That's just recent.
That's new, okay.
The police taking over vehicles.
Right. So that would just put more on the chiefs?
That sends out letters the first year.
Okay,
So if we don't do it this year, that would be the first year I'm aware of.
okay.
But if somebody really is in hardship, we could waive it now.
If I'm right, these usually come from the residents. Someone parks in their painted spot, they normally would call, especially after hours, they call the police. It's not like the police have to go around and monitor it.
Yeah.
It's complained by the people who live there and bought it.
And this change makes it $25 every 2 years now.
But you can waive any and all fees.
I think most people come in, they're just happy to be able to park in front of their house, because they know that if that's there, then their neighbors won't be parking there, and they can get closer to their.
How about just a one-time fee? And then that's it. You don't have to have a reoccurring fee.
Well, I would like to introduce it on first reading, and I'll ask Jim to read the ordinance into the record, please.
Hey, Jim, do you mind if I bring up a couple errors, or are you going to catch them when you read it?
Yeah,
Did you already catch them?
not yet, but,
Okay, yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
yeah,
Good job.
I'm not sure.
You will when you read it.
Okay, fair enough. I haven't read this all the way through yet, so.
I know you will.
Do we need to read it all 4 pages?
I'm with it.
All right. There we go. General Ordinance Number 5, 2020. General Ordinance Number 5, 2020 is an ordinance that amends Chapter 72 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Beech Grove concerning handicap parking. Whereas Chapter 72 of the Code of Ordinances was established in 1994 and is recommended to be updated, and whereas introducing a new ordinance will streamline the process for those who have a disability. And whereas by making a parking permit expire after 2 years, persons with disabilities will save money and time spent applying for permits. And whereas the City of Beech Grove should do what it can to assist those with disabilities and to make it easier to apply and receive these types of permits. Now therefore be it affirmed that the Common Council desires to amend Chapter 72 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Beech Grove concerning handicap parking permits. Now therefore be it further affirmed that the Common Council desires the following changes to be made concerning Chapter 72 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Beech Grove. Delete Chapter 72, Sections 72.41, 72.42, 72.43, 72.44, 72.55, 72.46, 72.47, 72.48, 72.49, and 72.50 in its entirety. Replace with the following. 72.41, application for permit. Any handicapped person residing in a single or double family detached dwelling in an area of the city zoned for residential purposes may apply to the clerk treasurer for a permit for one parking space adjacent to such residential property. At the time of the application, a valid automobile registration and proof of disability from an attending physician shall be presented. A proof of disability note is only required on the initial application if your disability is classified as permanent. Such dwellings shall be characterized by, but not limited to, 1. A single house number with a single mailbox for the receipt of materials sent through the United States mail. C. In no event shall there be reserved more than one parking space for any one household without regard to the number of adults who reside therein. 72.42, information on permit. The permit provided for in this subchapter shall contain the following information. A. Number of permit. B. Name and address of the person to whom the permit is issued. C. Year, make, and license number of vehicle authorized to use the space. Month and date of issuance and date of expiration. 72.43, fees, disposition thereof. An initial one-time administration fee of $25 shall be paid upon issuance of the permit to defray the city's cost of installing a sign and post and painting the curb of the parking space. In addition thereto, a permit fee of $26 shall be paid for the first year, and $13 if the permit is issued after January of the second year. All funds derived from the granting of permits under the provisions of this subchapter shall be placed in the general fund of the city. 72.44, decal required. A small self-adhesive colored decal bearing the expiration date of the permit will be issued. Such decal shall be affixed to the sign at the location of the parking space. The absence of the decal shall be presumptive evidence that the permit has expired. 72.45, expiration of permits. All permits shall expire on December 31st of the final year of insurance. Regulations. The following regulations shall be in effect. 1. A permit shall be issued only when there is a clearly demonstrated place of residence. 2. Permits are restricted to a household. 3. Permits shall be valid only for the 2-year calendar year period in which they are identified in the application. Private parking spaces pursuant to this subchapter are to be used for passenger vehicles. 5. Private parking spaces may not be subleased or rented for consideration or gratuitously to individuals outside the applicant's household. Violation of these regulations or any other provisions of this subchapter shall result in the immediate revocation of the permit by the Beech Grove Police Department and forfeiture of all fees. 7. The city shall paint the curbing designating such parking space with suitable blue paint markings up to 40 feet in length per owned lot and up to 20 feet in length for persons residing in a double family dwelling. B. No permit for a parking space adjacent to a residence shall be granted for any space in which the city shall prohibit parking entirely. 72.47, police review. The application for a permit under the provisions of this subchapter shall be approved by the clerk treasurer. An initial review of the application shall be made by the police department. If a previously issued permit for the prior period is approved, no additional administrative fees shall be required. If a previously issued permit is withdrawn, a refund shall be made to the permit holder upon proof of having paid the fee for that year. 72.48, enforcement. Certain parking spaces within the streets and places in the city may be designated for use by individuals with physical disabilities. When parking spaces are designed as such, no parking shall be permitted in those spaces except for or by those individuals who display a placard of a person with a physical disability or disabled veteran issued under Indiana Code 9-14-5. Under the laws of another state, or under the laws of the city, or a registration plate of a person with physical disability, veteran issued under Indiana Code 9-18-18, Indiana Code 9-18-22, or under the laws of another state. The permit holder reserves the right to contact law enforcement for the purpose of enforcement should any vehicle not authorized be parked in a properly marked and designated handicap spot. Now therefore be it affirmed that the Common Council desires to amend Chapter 72 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Beech Grove. Now therefore be it further affirmed that this ordinance only applies to Chapter 72 of the Code of Ordinances and no other chapter. Now therefore be it further affirmed that this ordinance shall go into effect on January 1st, 2021, after signed by the Common Council, attested by the Clerk Treasurer, and signed by the Mayor.
If you've seen any typos, go ahead.
I think he caught him.
I tried to read them before I got them.
Comments from council members?
I got one. Second page, 72.43. I'd like to see that changed to one charge and no reoccurring. That's just my,
Are you making an amendment?
yeah, I'm making an amendment, yeah. Sorry.
I'll need a second on the amendment.
Second that.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Log that down.
I would like to see it say that one initial charge of $25 and then no reoccurring charges after that.
So,
Just the call.
I think,
Cost of the install.
or the whole
Right,
thing?
yeah. Just the cost of the install and,
No permit fee.
right.
Okay. Any other discussion, comments? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve General Ordinance 5, 2020 with the amendment on first reading only.
I'll make said motion. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. We'll hear it on second, third reading at the August meeting. Last order of new business, council, is IDEM back in June came out and met with the DPW director and sewer supervisor. They went through a series of things and they did a survey. And I put in your packet, the results of the survey. So the course of action that we have to do is we have to submit by July 22nd a plan of action to remediate some of the things that were discussed in this survey. This isn't something that's going to be done in 6 months. This will be done over a period of 5 to 10 years. So we've done this once before, way before me, with the EPA. And we're going to go through this, and we have retained Wessler and Associates to develop a plan for us, which would include a survey, documentation of complaints, follow-up on complaints, preventative maintenance, and then investment in the system. So that's where we are at. When the report gets done, I will obviously share it with you. And we have to submit that, like I said, before July, no later than July 22nd. So, comments from council members?
so that pretty much does away with any of the potential drainage issue projects that were like on a list to be done for certain areas of the city.
Well, in your packet is our latest
Yeah.
treatment bill, and it's almost 90,000. We are in excess of $100,000 more than what we paid last year already. And we're only paying May's bill. So the rate increase, we talked about it a little while ago. The rate now is like 32.66. $17.22 of that rate goes to the treatment of wastewater. Over half of what our ratepayers pay goes to treat wastewater. So we have to come up with a way to make some investments in our system. And the only way, there's two ways you can do it, and one we've already looked into, we can't do it until November, and that is to get grants to do it, or raise your rates. And this is something that is not new. But we are going to come up with a plan to address it.
Couple questions, Mayor.
Sure.
One, I had a meeting with Brad, is he still here?
Yeah.
Brad's still here. I had a meeting with him in February and asked him about if there's any plans on doing any maintenance to the sewer system to address anything he currently has. And at that time, I was told that there wasn't anything. But I was trying to figure out whether we needed to get the additional funds. And they said if there was additional funds, that they could come up with improvements that could be made to the sewer systems. This report was done in June 10th was when they did the survey. And you're talking 4 months after talking to Brad, there was no, in this report, it says that there's no plans in doing maintenance to the sewer system.
I'm not really sure how we can do maintenance when we are not collecting enough money to pay the treatment fees.
Okay.
Very difficult.
During the conversation we had also, he said that one thing needs to be addressed is the manhole issues that the city has. They have some old manholes that are starting to, the brick are falling out and they need to be redone. Do we have a plan in place to have those addressed?
We.
There's no money.
Brad, you want to come up?
I'd love to.
Okay. How much does it cost roughly to rehab a manhole? I know in a meeting we had,
It depends on depth, so you could range anywhere from $3,000 to $12,000. So if you shot $5,000 as a mid-range, we have 800 ballpark manholes. You start doing the math, you get up to 4 million, 5 million real quick.
Right.
Yeah, we have no extra money beyond, we have one guy in the sanitary sewer system. I don't know if everybody realizes that, one dedicated employee with a jet truck from 1994. So there's no money.
When was the last time that you guys did preventive maintenance to the sewer system? Was it in 2000?
We're all reactive.
Okay, but preventive stuff, was that in 2005 when?
No, we did it earlier this year with Duke.
We do some Duke's root control up to, well, we keep it under $10,000, but that's minimal. I mean, we can do very little. And again, that's not, it is preventative, but you're not talking about lining or anything that would be considered infrastructure. You know, it's a chemical that they put in the pipes to kill roots. But part of the problem is, as you referenced back in 05, 06, they did do a significant amount of lining, but they did a lot of small diameter pipes, which is much cheaper than what's left in the system that still needs to be done, which is 8-inch to 12-inch, 24-inch. We don't have the money to address that.
Okay. I know currently in the budget, there is a line item for truck leasing. I think it's for $425,000 a year, is that correct? I believe. I know it's over 400,000.
There's something, but I don't know.
Yes, and I know currently that there is not a truck lease you're doing because you had paid off the trash trucks that we were leasing, using that money for to purchase the trash trucks. And we had talked about that money also in our meeting that we had in February. Has there been any more discussion about diverting that money for that to put towards maybe addressing some of the manhole issues and fix something in the city?
We had a discussion about needing a jet truck, and we're told that we could not afford that. At the time, we were considering the sale of the utility, which I still think is the only viable option, because as you heard from the mayor, look at your treatment bills, and they're only getting worse every year. You're the middleman. You're paying citizens to treat your wastewater, and then when it rains, you're paying them to treat all that clear flow. You have no access onto people's property to disconnect sump pumps, perimeter drains, and all the things that are causing I, which is your infiltration and your inflow. It's just a time thing. In a matter of time, we'll be begging them to take the system. That's my opinion, and that's what Phil and I have both been saying. You can't squeeze out a living in the situation that we're in. You just can't.
But one issue that I'm having is that there still is not a plan in place.
Well, when you came out, we talked, and I think Phil and I both feel like you misrepresented us when we talked. We never said there wasn't a plan. It was more about there's no money dedicated. We have maps of everything that's been lined. We showed you that.
Right.
We also showed you all the rest of the city that still needs to be lined. We also showed you pictures of manholes that need rehabbed. Those are plans. We have no money. I keep saying it. There's no money in the budget to do all those things. All of those activities are expensive.
Have you presented any of those plans to the Board of Public Works to get their approval to move
We've had
forward
several
on those?
conversations in past years prior to you being on the council, so I apologize that you weren't privy to all of those. But what we continue to hear is that there's not enough revenue because a lot of the money, as you know, gets taken out with pilot,
Right.
the return on investment. So a lot of our money goes to other places, and it doesn't stay in the utility to fund the utility's needs.
Right.
And that's
I know
the situation that we're
as
in.
a resident and a counselor, if you came to us and said, hey, I'd like to do these improvements, this is how much.
If you got me
it
some money, I could spend it so fast, it would make your head spin.
I understand that, but I mean, if you come to us with some plans, then we'll be like, okay, hey, this.
What we
needs
came
be
to you
addressed.
most recently with is the sale of the utility, which is where we are. We feel like that's the best move. That's both Phil and I. Keep in mind, I've been here 13 years. Phil's been here 45 years. I would strongly heed anything the man says.
Okay.
Okay? Any other questions?
Hey, well, I got you up here.
Yeah.
And I know part of the answer to this, but I don't get a lot of complaints. Maybe I hide from them. But one of them is the street sweeper, which we contract. I've never heard a positive thing said about it, but then again, I've not heard a whole overwhelming negative. Today on my block, I had two coming up to me because all of them doing student desk. We wonder if it had water out of there. I understand that there's environmental concerns within our own system, money to keep ours up and the contracting. But I'm just, as I would say to them, I wanted to say to you and give you an opportunity to help explain some of this, is that it seemed like the old system used to work better.
Well, our street sweeper was shot, so we needed a new one, and there was no money to buy a new one because they're $250,000 and up. We also only have 9, 10 dedicated full-time employees, so we didn't have an extra CDL driver to drive the street sweeper, so it made more sense financially to contract it out. Now, I'll tell you, I might get 3 calls a season on that sweeper. That's not to say someone might not have an issue with it and they just don't take the time to call me, but it's rare to hear a complaint. They do get full, and when they get full, I think sometimes before the driver realizes it, there's some dust and some material that can come out. I know the company is fantastic about, if I call them, and I've probably had 2 complaints this year so far since we started in April, they're back within an hour to redo it and to do whatever they can to make it right. So I've had a great relationship. It's EnviroSweep, and they're local. They're out on Churchman. For us, it was a manpower and a money thing again, and I hate to keep harping on money, but there's a point where you just don't have any, and we just couldn't afford at the time to buy another sweeper.
How many people work for Department of Public Works like in 1980? Do you have a number?
I have heard that we had well over 20 people, full-time, and we're 10, so we're less than half of what we had.
In every agency we have around here, they've grown in manpower and need to. Then they don't. But you guys have, I believe you're about half.
Yeah.
At least half.
Yeah. But to go back to the sewer thing, we've got a lot of documentation of things, if you want Phil or I to share how we could spend the money. But I think what you got to realize is over time, you get sort of conditioned to this mentality that you're not going to get any money. So I feel like, when you come up and if you keep asking, you get to a point where you feel like, okay, we're wasting our time. That's how it feels. Now, if you say, hey, Brad, I can get you $1 million or $2 million or $500,000, I'll have you something by the end of the day of how it will be spent. And I would love to see that happen, but I'm just not going to hold my breath. And the reason why I pushed the sale, back in 2015, and I've told this story before, it might have been to a previous council, but we had a June, July where we just got hammered with rain. And we had 1 month where we treated 150 million gallons of sewage, which a lot of it wasn't sewage, it was clear flow. And that was my aha moment, like the Shark Tank thing, where I realized we can't do this. We can't afford to be the middleman where we don't have control of the plant. We don't have any ability to control the end cost because that's citizens. We're stuck in the middle. And now when they got the system from Indianapolis, the first thing they did was petition the IURC to raise rates. And when they got it, I realized really quick, this is just a numbers game for me, and this doesn't add out in the end. It doesn't make sense mathematically. There's no way we can continue to do this. The amount of money we're gonna have to charge the people to even just squeak out a living, doing bare minimum maintenance, you do the math, it doesn't work. So we're in a tough spot. And even IDIM said that. They said, you guys are in a horrible spot. I'm not saying they were advocating selling it, but then the other thing that got brought up was, what about the manholes for citizens that blow off during heavy rain events? And I said, why don't you guys address that? We're having this conversation. What about citizens? They've got these manholes that blow off in heavy rain events. And the one gal, she said, oh, I'll look into that. And the guy laughed. He said, good luck. They're not going to do anything to them. They're doing the Deep Rock Tunnel, so they're going to get a lot of grace in all the other areas where they might be not up to par, but they've got this giant project going on where they're spending millions upon millions of dollars. So that's just kind of the situation we're in. So it's a tough spot. And if you want to get into the I&I issue, you have to start going on people's properties, start looking at disconnecting sump pumps and perimeter drains, and then that gets ugly for the residents. But the reality of it is the perimeter drains can pump. I read 4 perimeter drains in one block, four homes in a block can maximize the capacity of an 8-inch sanitary sewer. Just the drains on those 4 homes can do that. And we've got a ton of perimeter drains in our community. So, and it's expensive for people to disconnect them. So it's a hard spot to be in. It's only going to get worse. So that's why Phil and I were big on the sale, just because we looked at the math. We realized how much the rain affects our system and what it costs. It's a tough spot to eke out a living as a middleman. It just is.
For me being a new counselor coming in, I recognized immediately that the city has been taking money from sewer and sanitation budget for years to help fund stuff. And that's what's caused us to get to the situation we're in now.
Sure.
I'm just trying to see what we can do to eliminate that city from being such a burden on the sanitation system, and the sanitation system can operate how it's supposed to.
Well, we know our system well, and like I said, it's super rare in today's world to have a guy that's been here 45 years, and that's a long time. That's very rare, and Phil is unbelievable. I mean, when you ask him a question about any part of the city, he'll tell you back in 1962 what guy dug that hole and the guy's name that put the casting on that one. It's unbelievable, but he knows everything. And my fear, too, is the day he leaves, because that's a huge resource that'll be gone. But right now, it would be great to take advantage of his knowledge if we had money to say, where can we best spend it? Problem is, we just haven't had any, for a long time that we were willing to dedicate to the sewer. So that's just kind of where we're at, snapshot. But I'm always willing to talk if someone's got any money.
And then we're stuck, we're at the mercy of a depreciating asset, so this
Correct.
thing
That's
is
because we don't
depreciating.
take care of it.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a quick question? Well, actually, a couple questions that Bobby brought up. Thanks, Bobby. The seasonal sweep contractor we use, what's their, I guess it's seasonal, what's their bill?
Oh, $9,800 a month, roughly. Just and it went up. We've been contracted with them since 14, maybe 15. I originally got quotes from 2 companies, TerraPro and EnviroSweep. EnviroSweep was the low bidder, and they were local, so it was kind of a win-win. Have had a great relationship with them. They didn't raise prices for the first, I'm going to say 4 years, and then I think last year they went back for the first increase ever. But, another thing that I apologize, I didn't bring this up before, but this was an issue that I should have mentioned. Beyond just getting a new sweeper, that at the time we needed one, IDIM was another issue where they were coming down on us for where we dumped our street sweepings, how we collected them. They wanted us to put a brand new pad in, pipe it to the sanitary. I mean, it was going to be a lot of money to create the infrastructure that they wanted to see for the sweeping operations. At the time, we were kind of creating a little bit of a small mountain, and they didn't like that. So it was to the point where they were involved and it was going to be a lot of money. So that's one thing EnviroSweep does is they handle the disposal of it. Each month I get a number that I can then put on the city's website and say this is how many tons of street sweeping material were discarded from our streets, and it's just a cleaner operation. So that was another factor that I didn't think to bring up, but.
So it's cleaner and cheaper, just reference, right?
Yeah, when we had our own sweeper, I mean, there were days where, if you had a couple guys call in or somebody's on vacation or somebody got sick, all of a sudden I was pulling the sweeper guy to drive a trash truck. There were days we couldn't sweep because we didn't have enough people. So that was another issue that a capacity
It seemed like
thing.
back in the day, you ran into that thing all the time, but then again, I was a kid without a job. So
Yeah.
that could have been.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, Brad.
Yeah.
My second part there, on item number 12, under this inspection, the item inspection, it talks about the USO, which is the sewer use ordinance. It talks in there, it goes through about adopting pretty much a program in February of this year, 28th. And has that been done, one? And if it has, well, I guess number one.
Did you say 12?
Yeah, item 12, page 2 of 3.
Yeah, so I spoke to Wessler today, in fact, and some of that, we've already got a lot of that in place that they want as far as having an ordinance and things like that. So, I don't want to get ahead of anything, but I know Wessler is working with us on putting together a response. And I got the feeling from him, a lot of this is going to be able to be explained and already in place as of now, but I think there's a few things we can shore it up with. Some of the reporting issues, Phil was in the meeting, and some of the reporting issues that they asked about were citizens, and we explained that to them, which then we kind of got the feeling that they weren't going to do anything to them anyways. I think Phil said there were a couple basement backups that didn't get reported to IDEM over the last few years. And they said, well, yeah, we definitely want to know about those, which that's not a big deal. I mean, Phil usually handles a lot of those things. But, and he said he's fine to make sure they're getting all of those going forward. And that's kind of what triggered this. We had a guy that had a backup. He lives on North 15th. And throughout that conversation with him and kind of the state of the sewer system and things he'd experienced, he's a landlord. He owns the property, doesn't actually live there. But then he ended up calling IDEM, which is what triggered them coming out wanting to sit down with us. And overall, I mean, there were a lot of things they were actually happy about, but when they walked in, they were shocked that we had one employee, and they were shocked that we had the jet machine that we had. They couldn't believe we were working with a 1994 and didn't have a vac truck, and that's what you get into when you're this small like we are. You don't have the economies of scale to go out and buy a vac truck or 2 vac trucks because a lot of times it might sit there, but you need it. And so then when you're in that situation, you're counting on someone that owns one to come out when you can get them out, and it puts you in a tough spot sometimes when you've got a backup and you're relying on a contractor at the mercy of when they're available. But to answer your ordinance, or to answer your question, the ordinance thing, I think we're in pretty good shape on. Wessler's, like I said, putting together a response now, and he seemed pretty positive when I spoke to him today, as far as what we had on the books.
Okay. I think there just needs to be more accountability with the residents too, dumping clean water into the sewage. I mean, that's just not cost effective from a city or economically or your department. Because I think the mayor said publicly is what, 40% ballpark? I don't know where he got that number, but I mean, do the math.
Yeah.
It's 4.
Yeah, that number was a number that got put out, and I think they're probably the way they're leaning is to start with some surveys and things, asking people and hoping that people work with us and comply when properties become available. Maybe when there's an inspection done, maybe you're looking at having a plumber look to see, okay, what's connected. But if you go beyond that, which is what the situation Greenwood got put in because they got put under the consent decree, they had to start actually going on people's properties and doing inspections, and that gets uncomfortable for people. It can be costly for them if you find out, okay, you've got 2 sump pumps and perimeter drains hooked up, you're killing us, now you got to disconnect all of that. Gets to be an expense for them, so it's kind of where we are,
What is your thought on Bobby's comment earlier regarding from the sewer bill? I mean, with your expertise. So let's say, Bobby, in a perfect world, let's treat our sewer system like the light company. You pay for what you use. Therefore, it's a no-brainer. So if that was put in place 2 years out, like Bobby suggested or recommended or whatever, what if there was a separate line item that the citizen could see what they're using, what they're paying for, dollar for dollar, itemized to the cent? And Jimmy did a good job on that. But below that, as citizens, what if it said repairs. And then you bring this list, forget the dollars for a second, bring a list of repairs. Number one, what needs to be fixed tomorrow? And then we can approach the citizens and, budget for that. We can budget. I mean, will it take 20 years? Will we see it in our lifetime? Probably not. But yet we can leave our city better for our kids because we're not doing that now. And to say, well, that's, if you don't take care of anything, I don't care if it's an old car or if it's a sewer system, if you neglect it, you're going to lose money.
Sure.
But if you've got enough sense to provide for it, last year the administration was a Democratic controlled, how much money did we, project in the budget for you to provide you? They didn't empower you to prepare for what was needed. How did you receive those, sorry, we got the money? I mean, I don't know, I wasn't there.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a thing where, you're a department head, you're a smart guy. You're a great grant writer. Man, I say, cut the loose and go get it and report and respectfully come back and say, this is what we need. Starting January 1st, we could restructure this and fix it. Now, granted, it won't all be fixed overnight, but we can hit, Phil's hot spots.
Sure.
I think the resources is there, and like Bobby said too, contracting that out sometimes, I mean, that's a third savings. I mean, so taxpayers, that's saving a lot of money that we can use in your department or other departments accordingly. So, but thank you for that.
Brad, did we, a few years back, not under this administration, but didn't they use usage for a while as far as?
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like we haven't been there before.
Correct, yeah. And they had a variety of reasons why they went away from it, so.
I remember a room full of people here, one of them.
Yeah.
So some things are not like, we never done them. And I wasn't on the council then, I was in the room for various reasons on a high increase in our sewer bill. Not only that, later on it was suggested the usage. So offhand, I can't remember what was bad or good. I just remember the time.
I wasn't real involved in that particular decision, but I know there are costs to the city when we do usage. The citizens does charge. There are things like that add up, and there's personnel in your office that I'm sure limitations as to what they can and can't do.
Board's been here almost forever, so not as long as
Right.
Phil, but-
Well, see, yeah, that would affect Jim's, that's a good example. I mean, it would be modernized. We do stuff now in, the 70s? And when you walk in there, you pay, you do by check, I mean, that kind of stuff. I mean, would it be modernized like that? And you get a better end product, save the citizens money?
Yeah, I
and be
think
able to-
Linda was involved, and she would be the one that, kind of knows it in and out.
Yeah.
She's one of those people that she knows.
Brad, I appreciate
Thank you,
Bobby
Brad.
kind of
Thank
getting
you.
started, because
Yeah.
it's good communication.
Yeah, it's been a long road, and we've talked to the old council and haven't had a chance to talk as much to you guys, but I know Phil got pretty frustrated for a while, and you do, after a while, you get frustrated when you don't see anybody wanting to make investments or whatever, and it's gone for years, not just
I speak for the gang. If you got a $50 bill you need help with, we're here.
yeah, all right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Brad.
And when the report is submitted, we'll send you a copy of it. Any other questions on this? If not, that concludes new business this evening. Council comments. Dave?
I have none. I just want to thank everybody for coming. Congratulations to the two new RDC members. Thanks to police and fire for everything you guys do. DPW does an amazing job. That's all I got.
Liz?
Well, thanks, everybody. Stay safe. Practice model good behavior, and just do social distancing, wear a mask. It really does make a difference. Safety and concern for everyone through this time is so important. And I'm so happy to see the new police officer. So it looks like a great family. So thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Gary?
Mayor, I have a question. There in my packet, I don't know, because I didn't get those resignations earlier. There's a packet in there from you where you addressed the COVID. Did you
I
address that,
don't
or
know.
did I-
What's it say?
Let's see, I've had several citizens approach me about the public utilities asking for a rate increase due to the losses due to regarding COVID-19 virus.
Yeah, that was a letter I sent to the IURC. There were some utilities that wanted to have a rate hike because of losses due to COVID. And so I wrote a letter saying that I oppose any rate increase based on COVID for utilities.
Okay.
Okay.
From my understanding, wasn't that denied? They just voted on it.
I don't think they approved it.
So they tried to raise their rates, but yet we raised our rates internally. I mean, I'm just saying, you're talking about economics.
Public utilities wanted to raise their rates based on offset losses of COVID.
Okay.
Our rate increase was not based on offset.
Well, it's just, the term, raise, I just saw that. Okay.
You do understand the difference, right?
I think I do, Dave. Thanks for that. It's a thing where, financial hardship, I don't care if it's from the state level or the city level. I think we should have been, which is good. I guess it was declined, Jim said, right? That's a good thing. Cool.
These rates here, they were.
Oh, yeah, I understand that. But I'm just saying it's money, the bottom line, money. Okay. Congratulations to the new RDC members. For Dave and Barbara, thank you for serving. Thank you to the council showing up. Thanks for the citizens. And Brad, thank you for the in-depth response. Everyone stay safe. Thank you.
I would just like to ask how the firemen, sorry, it's driving me crazy, how the firemen are doing from the accident the other night that I heard about.
The chief has had a kind of a rough stretch, and he didn't come up tonight. And as most of you probably know, our engine was involved. We had dispatched out to Arlington and Troy for a trash fire Saturday evening, a little after 10, and they got out there, and there was 5 of them on a truck. And they got out of the truck and walked to where the trash fire was. It was a big bonfire, actually. So they were walking back to get the hose off, pull the hose line off, and the driver hit the engine and a pole and hit a couple of the firefighters. One was somewhat pinned between the car and a pole, and one was thrown about 10 feet. 4 of them got hurt. They were all taken downtown to Methodist. And then the 5th firefighter was not hurt, and that he was the officer of the truck. He reached into the car and turned the ignition off and put the keys up on top of the hood. And the gentleman driving the car was gunning the car to try to leave. But anyway, fortunately, all 4 of them are okay.
That's good.
Ganged up. 2 of them will probably be back on duty this week. 2 of them, I don't think they'll be back for a couple, 3 weeks. But the engine front bumper got dinged, but he hit the truck first and deflected off the truck and then came into a pole. So, IMPD did the investigation, and then IFD responded to the incident along with IEMS. So it's one of those things. It's just terrible. And I appreciate you asking, but they'll be all right, and no permanent injury, so we're grateful for that. Then we also had, right before that incident, our medic went out to the area of Southeastern and Arlington, and they had a patient who lost his right arm right hand due to a fireworks. So, and it was one of those Class A fireworks, the big ones. So it must have went off in his hand. I'm not really sure, but so they went from that incident to the fire truck incident. So tough night for those guys Saturday night, but it'll all work out.
Okay. And is there anybody that could let us know how the police are doing since the COVID small outbreak?
Chief?
We're doing well. We're okay.
In that office, chief, how do you guys do it?
Oh, my, yeah.
I mean,
How do we do what?
keeping
Away from each
the
other.
distance.
We limited our contact with the public, we limited access to the department, we canceled roll calls, we been able to streamline some of the activities that people came into the lobby for. We've been able to push that online or completely out of the building and just let the tow companies handle it. We did some other things internally with people that could access their computer from home. And so, I mean, a majority of my officers, not a majority, I shouldn't say that, quite a few of my officers are married to health workers. And so I was concerned with them bringing it in from nurses more so than us. So
Yeah.
we were able to keep guys safe. And the cases that we ended up with recently were travel. They got it from traveling, more than likely. And so it didn't affect, well, I shouldn't say that. The first case didn't affect us because he had been out for a while. So he'll be back this week, and the other one was already scheduled to be off till the 16th, and so we'll be okay. It was already planned out, so we only had to get a couple days covered for overtime, but we're doing all right.
I'm sorry, Chief. From the 1st of March until 7 days ago, the city did not have our employees did not have a exposure to COVID. And I thought that was pretty good. Because I know our ambulance has transported in excess of 100 patients who had the virus. So the employees have done really well through all of this to protect themselves, and but it's still out there. So those are good questions. Thanks for asking, Kara.
Sure. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to know how everybody was doing and if your staffing levels are okay or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we've still been able to move forward with some of the stuff that we wanted to get done.
Okay. Awesome. That's all.
Sure, thanks for asking that.
Mhm.
I wanted to answer a question for Pam on the sewer bill increase. I wish I could get all these increases in my mind right sometimes, but I don't think the increase necessarily is because the city didn't have a penny. What happens, I think, as a counselor sometimes is if we don't keep up with the rising costs, then all of a sudden, we're gonna give everybody a huge bill that's 3 times bigger than this. So trying to keep our utility, and I like what Bobby is saying about trying to protect that utility and make it more worthy. No matter what, we didn't sell anything, so we're gonna have to do things with it, unless that changes down the road. And I behind the scenes pick up with Bobby and Gary sometimes ask some good questions to department heads and things like that, and that's good stuff. And I just wanted to bring that up. I wanted to say something real quickly on the sewer bill apartment thing. It's just lingering so long that it would like do something, and but Bobby, I hate to just keep bragging on you, but bringing up maybe a possibility of some good documentation somewhere or another might help make different decisions in that. I want to thank Dan Bailey for being here. Department heads, when you listen to Brad, but and you got the chief back there, we have, I think at this time, some of the best department heads. I feel real secure as a citizen with our department heads and their leadership and their knowledge, and I'm sure that they'd like to have everything in the world that you can't always have, but that we need to at least have a minor wish list that's been brought forward of things they might need and see what we can do. I want to congratulate James and Bonnie and wish them the best on the RDC. And I want to thank Dave and Barb for being there. And then finally, I want to just bring up a real quick thing, and I will shut up. The RDC, I have, of course, another big faith in Kathy Chappell. I've never met a more honest and person. I've known her all my life, though, so it makes a difference. So in every turn, I've known her to do an excellent job. But in that, I wanted to say, I also go back to when I was on this city council a long time ago. You want to talk about RDC headaches? We don't have nothing. And that's bad because we always should strive to be better than what we are today. I'm not taking that away. But I want to remind you, I had to talk, and I'm going to mention his name because Mr. Lamb actually was trying to do the best he could. So I had to ask him, along with others, would you do me a favor, if you spend one more dime on Digital City, would you at least come here first? Because like mentioned, we don't have control. He promised he would do that. Money after money, big money. The RDC today is probably trying to get out of that mess still. They were unaware of how they were going to pay the bills. It was terrible government, though the people in that government meant well. And are my friends today, things don't always turn right. So it doesn't mean we don't strive, but boy, I'm glad we don't have those headaches today that they do. But doing our best maybe will keep us away from that too. That's all I got. Thank you.
I just want to congratulate James and Bonnie. Thank you guys for stepping up. Thank you for wanting to do something for your community and your city. I appreciate that. Also, thank you for stepping up also. I'm pretty sure we'll have more conversations. I appreciate you coming to all the council meetings. You've had some great questions and appreciated the feedback. Also want to thank the new police officers in this day and age. It takes a special person who still wants to put on a badge, put on a uniform, and go out to work. And I appreciate anybody who decides to make that their profession and decide to be a servant to the community and to protect them. Also want to say that, I've been praying for the firefighters. I'm glad they're all going to be okay. Even though we give each other a hard time being police and fire, they're still our brothers, and we still care about them like they care about us, and if we get hurt. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, council. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make motion.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned at 8:58. Thank you.